Thank you, ladies, and welcome. Welcome, Judy. Welcome, Tracy, and everybody else who is going to catch us live on Facebook. We are beyond grateful that the Lord has set today. My name is Wairimo, the Audacity Mentor, and I would like to welcome you. Those who are going to watch the replay, remember to do #replay and share what it is that you're learning from Judy's story. And if you hear something that just challenges you or inspires you, please leave those comments, because then she knows it mattered that she came today. All right. So as always, I always start with a prayer, and also just sharing our verse for today and telling you a bit about my work, so that then you know why it is that I invited Judy and why she is going to be an inspiration for you today. So let me do that right now. So welcome to Chasing Courage. This is a forum that I do every month, and I just invite warrior moms who have overcome or who are doing work that is so beneficial to society. And today's topic is maternal mental health in an unequal world. And I can't wait for you to learn from Judy. She's been doing this work. She's passionate about this work, and the Lord has been faithful in what she's doing. So our guest is Judy Kehumba, and I'll welcome her later. But for now, let's share our verse for the day. So our verse for today comes from Philippians 2, from verse 1 to 5. And we're going to learn about the attitude of Christ. And allow me to read. It says, "Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate?" And I need to say, this is Paul just asking rhetorical questions, because of course there is encouragement from belonging in Christ. Of course there is comfort from his love. Of course there is fellowship together in the Spirit. And of course our hearts are tender and compassionate when you have the mind of Christ. And let me continue. "Then make me truly happy." This is Paul telling the Philippians. "Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and one purpose." Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others better as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others as well. If there's a personification of what Paul was teaching the Philippians, then I think Judy is, because the work that she's doing is almost 99% about other people. And I would like to welcome Tracy Wairimo, who is going to be our sign language interpreter for today, so that moms that serve with Judy can be able to also appreciate what she's sharing with us. Judy will also tell us how we can help her towards the end. But listen, wherever God has placed you at this moment in time, he needs you to do some work. He needs you to love each other. He needs you to work together in mind and in purpose. There's what I call an odd factor. There's something special that God has given you for a reason, for his glory, for the good of others, and for your own growth. The question is, are you going to be selfish? Are you going to try and impress other people? Or are you going to go the way Paul was encouraging the Philippians and be humble and think of others better than yourself? Does that mean you're not qualified? You're extra qualified. But that doesn't make you better than other people. It just means that you're more qualified to do God's work. And so do it in humility. The same way Jesus, who was God, came down from heaven to earth, and he made himself a regular person, just so that God could be glorified and so that we are reconciled with God. The question is, what's your reason for being here? What's your passion? What's your purpose? The Bible tells us, don't look out only for your own interests. And that means that, yes, it's okay, follow your own interests, but don't do everything being selfish, wanting to show people you're better. No, also take interest in helping other people too. And today's story is exactly that. It's showing a woman who has an attitude of Christ and how she's doing this work on earth. So my name, for those who have never met me, who are coming from Judy's network, or who just got this poster and just said they must listen to this topic on maternal mental health care. My name is Wairimo, the Audacity Mentor. I am a wife. I am a mom of 3. I am a Christian-based mom mindset and life mentor. So I work with mothers who want to discover what is that uniqueness that they have, what is that special calling, purpose, passion that they have. And we do this by what the Bible says, just transforming your mind, because the more you transform your mind, the more you have an attitude of Christ, the more you will know what God's will is for your life, a will that is good, it is perfect, and it serves other people. I am an encourager. I love uplifting women. I am the founder and lead mentor at Audacity Mentoring Services, and I'm also an author. And I'm so, so grateful that you've taken this moment, whether you're watching the replay or you're watching us live, which is even more fun, that you're going to get encouraged through this session. So my calling is to work with moms, and especially moms who are saying, I want to grow in whichever area of your life. I want to grow. So moms prioritizing their personal growth, and I help you to build a bankable personal or business brand, so that then you design the life that you desire and that God approves without compromising faith and family. I have been born again for 30 years this year, and I know life without God has no meaning, has no sweetness, has no flavor, has no sweet sauce. And so one of the things, even when I was being coached to be a mentor, to be a life coach as well, I did not want to compromise my faith, because since I was 14 years old, I have never known anything else apart from doing life with God. And so if this describes you or something that you intend to do, please reach out. And one of the ways you can do this is join me in a flagship program. It's a 6-week program that I have, where I do this weekly. Every week, I conduct live classes. You get a weekly workbook. You get coaching calls from me in case you're stuck or you just feel like you want to consult me on something. You get to discover who you are. You get to discover your giftings, your talents, your passions, your voice. Because if you're a messenger from God, he uses your unique voice. Now, finding that voice and purpose, this is something that happens. It has happened for hundreds of moms. And one of the calls to action I'm going to give you is text me right for now on the notebook, but do this immediately after Judy finishes this conversation. Just text, tell me more on that number. Tell me more on the number below, and I will call you and just tell you about the program and how it can benefit you, especially if you're prioritizing your personal growth, okay? So lastly is to just have this conversation about if you do not want maybe to invest money in a program, but you still feel the urging to grow, one of the ways you can do this is come to www.theaudacitymentor.com. You're going to find a link, and that link will direct you to an online school. And what I want you to do is look for this masterclass. It's called the Life Redesign Starter Masterclass. And it will just guide you for 45 minutes. All I'm asking is invest your time. If you cannot invest time and money, at least invest your time, all right? And be able to attend this masterclass, learn from it, and call me so that we can be able to have a continued conversation. You can grow. You can have the mind of Christ. You can learn to serve other people through the things that you are equipped to do. And then lastly, even as I come to introduce Judy, is you may wonder, is this the first Chasing Courage talk? No, it isn't. There have been many other warrior moms. And so you can go to Wairimo Kanye YouTube and you can watch other Chasing Courage conversations. So if you can't come for my course, you can't see the 45-minute masterclass, at least go and watch other Chasing Courage conversations and just see other moms who chose a path that is not about their own interests, but also about serving other people. And I hope that you get blessed from listening to all those various areas that I have given you that you can use to grow yourself. So lastly, allow me to now then introduce our guest. I'm very happy. So Judy is our guest, Judy Kehumba. We know her as Judy Andy because of her husband, Andrew. She's a wife. She's a mom. She is a sign language interpreter, and not just for now. And today she's being helped by her colleague, Tracy Wairimo. But she does this for media houses. She does this for government and corporate functions. She has even been in a music video signing, like amazing. And she'll tell you which music video is that so that you go watch, you really enjoy it. And she also does Sunday school interpretation, sign language interpretation for St. Andrew's Church. So, I mean, she's gifted. This is not just something she does for the sake of it or to be paid for it, something she's passionate about. And where that passion has gone is also to be an advocate for mental health, and especially for moms who are hearing impaired and who are nursing, you know, because it's hard enough when you're a mom without an impairment. When you have a newborn, now imagine now also not being able to hear, you know, and so that's where her passion lies. She is also a founder of Talking Hands and Listening Eyes, and I can't wait for us to learn from Judy. So her topic of choice is maternal mental health in an unequal world. So I can't wait to hear what Judy has for us. So what we have said we are going to do is I'm going to switch off my video, and only Wairimo, who is signing, and Judy are going to be on our screens so that for those who are not able to hear her voice, they can at least listen through signing. So thank you very much. Karibu sana. Judy, allow me to say a short prayer for you so that we can just get into this flow and hear what God has placed in your heart. So Father, in Jesus' name, oh God, what a wonderful day you have given us. We just want to prepare Judy, that you use her voice, you use her story, you use her passion, use her calling to encourage another mom, to inspire another mother, so that, Lord, we may be able to step up, show up, and do the work that you have called us to do. Thank you for who she is and what she has faithfully done. The same way you called Peter and his brother and other disciples, and they left what they were doing so that they do your work. Help us to also be inspired through Judy's story. We pray for connectivity, Father. What can't you do? You can hold our electricity, you can hold our internet, you can hold our bundles, so that, Father, for the duration of time that we are sharing, Lord, that nothing happens. There are not going to be incidents, accidents, or any interruptions or distractions, that we are going to clearly spend time listening to Judy. And so thank you so much, and we glorify you. Thank you for the mothers that she served. Thank you for the joy that she's brought to them. Thank you for Tracy as well, who is using her gift of signing so that other mothers may be extended in this conversation. In Jesus' name we pray, and most of all believe. Amen. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to this conversation.
You.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you, Erimo. Thank you for this invite. I want to say hi to everyone.
Judy? Has she dropped? Judy? Judy, we've lost you temporarily. You can unmute yourself, my dear.
Sorry, I didn't know I'm muted. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's okay.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm saying hi to every mom who is watching and to everyone who is watching us online and who is following us. As Irimo has introduced me, my name is Judy Kihumba. I'm an advocate of maternal mental health, and I'm a sign language interpreter. And the maternal mental health that I advocate is for the deaf moms. The reason why deaf moms, I know there are so many people who ask me, are you deaf? Are you at one point deaf? Or do you have a family member or a relative who is deaf? And I would say, I'm not a deaf person. I've not been a deaf person, but I've been in the deaf world for the last long time now. I think almost 10 years now. And my passion with the deaf people has started way back in high school. I went to a school for the deaf. I went to Reverend Muhoro School for the Deaf. And I interacted with the deaf people. And, I would say they challenged me. They made me get into their world in a very unique way. When I joined, I want to maybe to start there because there are people who keep asking me why I joined the deaf school. Is because at that point, my parents were not able to pay for my school fees, and I needed to get to a school, and that's the only school that my grandma could afford. And to cut the story short is that I went to the school for one term and then had to stop schooling for a whole 1 year and a few months, then went back after 2 years. Yes, and when I went back to the same high school, I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to serve to learn the sign language, and I wanted to enter into the deaf world. Yeah, since then I've been in the deaf world. I would say after high school, I did I went to the University of Nairobi, and
Sorry, we've lost Judy for a little bit. I know she's using her phone, and there are little interruptions, but we are going to listen. Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, so I went to I did my communication in a sign language. I finished, and I've been in the deaf world, I would say, for that long time. I have a degree in communication and PR, and I love the deaf because it's a world that I understand most. It's a world 98% of my friends are deaf people, so I feel more comfortable there. And as Oirimo introduced me, my everyday work is working with the deaf people. And now when I come to the mental health, the mental health in an unequal this world, is because I've realized that as much as we are mothers, we go through challenges. When an able-bodied mother goes through a lot of changes, a lot of hormonal changes, a lot of challenges when you are first-time mother. And sometimes you need support, you need people who understand you. I realized that deaf people don't have that. And I would say it's because I went through postpartum depression. 2 years ago, I gave birth to a very beautiful girl. And when I gave birth to her, I didn't know what postpartum depression was. I had never heard about it. And so when I gave birth, 2 weeks after birth, since birth to the 2 weeks, I had so many issues. I was every day crying. There were nights I would not sleep at all. I would sleep holding my baby, that even my husband couldn't touch my baby. It was quite a whole mixture of emotions, and we had to go to the hospital because to me I also felt I was fatigued, tired, headaches that were never going. So we went to the hospital, and the doctor told me on my face, I think you're going through postpartum depression. And I was like, what is that? All along, even in the family, people are thinking that I'm just being fussy. I was just in my own world. But what had happened, what had triggered the postpartum depression is when I was pregnant, my baby, I had gone through so much. I had gone through so much loss, and I had lost one of the most important person in my life, my dad. And I didn't know that I was holding all those emotions. I had also lost a pregnancy. When I lost my dad, we did a post-mortem. And in the post-mortem, I didn't know what a post-mortem is. So I found myself in the process, and I started bleeding, and that's how I lost my baby. And for 2 weeks, I was in denial. I was still like, I still had my baby. I don't know how I would believe I knew I was pregnant in my mind, but on this other side, I'm bleeding. I was still in pads, knowing clearly that I am pregnant on this other side. It was, when I look back today, I feel like maybe I was not okay mentally. And that's how I lost the baby. And now here comes again. And because I stayed without going to the hospital, I had lost a lot of blood. And when we went to the hospital, it was too late. They said they couldn't even do an MBA because I had cleared so much. But to me, I thought I would never get pregnant again. So for me, getting a baby here again, and I carry a pregnancy to full term, was somehow again emotional. And I think that's how the postpartum depression came in. And when I went through this postpartum depression, of course, my friends, I said earlier, my friends are the deaf people. They would come to visit me and they would see how I was behaving. One of them asked me, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I tried explaining, and I told her I went even to the hospital and this is what the doctor said, and this is the reason. And she was like, "I have never heard of such a thing." And from there, I realized that there's so much information that we don't get, the deaf people don't get. Of course, number one is because of language barriers. The deaf people don't get information the way we get it, as much as we see an interpreter. Here, Tracy, she's saying what I have already said. So you can imagine if I shared a joke, the rest of us will laugh, and the deaf person will laugh after all of us have laughed. So the information the deaf people get is after everybody else has gotten the information, or sometimes they don't even get the information, or sometimes they get it, but they get it in a wrong way. And out of this, I thought about the deaf people, but at that point, I didn't know exactly what to do. And I remember in the process, as I was one time going with my daughter to school, in the whole process, my daughter asked me, who is she was then, by then she was 4 years, she asked me, we saw the big tankers, the big rollies, the ones that transport water, and she asked me, "Mommy, why is it that our car is small and that lorry is big?" I said, "Because this one is to take Lynn to school and that one is to transport water." And after a few, like a second, she asked me again, "Who is driving?" I said, "The driver, they have a driver." Then she's like, what is that water for?" I said, "For cooking, washing, everything that we do with water." And she was again like, "Has that driver taken a shower?" And I said, yeah. So she was like, "So the people getting this water are getting dirty water." And then that was an eye opener for me, and it has been, because she made me see how I communicate to the deaf people, that I will give information thinking they have gotten it right. Because my daughter, I had to take her to, when we went home, we had to put water in a bucket. I show her how the tanker, how they do the water, how they connect the pipe, and they shower with a different basin or whatever they use to shower. And then the water and this driver bathing has no relation. And I realized sometimes, even in church, when I'm interpreting to the deaf people, there are times I may think I am interpreting the right thing. I may think I'm passing information, and to be sincere, I'm not passing any information. And that's when I started taking the maternal mental health seriously, because now that I was going through therapy, I was going through counseling, I was going through support, I realized the deaf mothers, when they give birth, 98% again of their family members, where these deaf people are, they don't have information, they don't know sign language. So they just think this mother is becoming fussy, this mother is just being, and of course we stereotype them. We say that the deaf people are easily angered, they get angry very fast. So that alone makes them feel they're sidelined. And for that reason, I thought of working with the deaf moms. But even before I could start that, last year, 2020, on 7th of November 2020, I received a call from Mama Lucy Hospital that they had a deaf girl who was in labor pains, and this girl had not carried anything with her. She didn't have anything with her that for taking care of her baby, like the first clothes for babies. So that meant that she needed help. So I had to take some clothes of my daughter and went to the hospital. But before then, I called a friend of mine who went ahead of me, who lives near the hospital, and called me and said, this situation is a dire need. We need to assist. So I went, and from there we started a journey with this girl. And I realized this girl is a total orphan, and despite being deaf, she didn't know anything about the baby. In fact, she had thought, because whoever had advised her again on the information that if you take conch tea leaves, you lose the pregnancy. So for her, she was aborting the baby. So even giving birth to her was something different. And so she thought she wasn't ready for this baby. So I walked the journey with her. And when the baby was born, she was unwell for some time. And I realized that this mother, sometimes she would oversleep and the baby would vomit because the baby had reflux. The baby would vomit to a point the baby couldn't breathe, and the mother here can't, if she's asleep, she won't know the baby is vomiting. So me and my husband sat down and we decided to take her in. We live with her. We kind of adopted her and her daughter. She's part of our family. And then I realized the tough journey the deaf people go through, the deaf mothers go through, going to every clinic with this girl, going to anything that this baby wants. Of course, she became our baby, from diapers, from everything, a newborn. Now it was like me with another baby. And it has been a journey, and it was a beautiful journey. But I realized there's so much that the deaf people don't know. And I embarked on this journey of working with deaf mothers. And anywhere the deaf, they reach out to me. And I also, when I know a deaf mom is pregnant, I intentionally work with them. I go to the hospital with them for the clinics, or I look for someone like Tracy. I work with other interpreters who can help me. When I'm not there, there's an interpreter on the side to work with these deaf moms. But I make it intentional because I know how lonely this journey can be for the deaf people, and I know how tough sometimes it becomes. If there were days I would feel I don't want to talk to anyone, there were days I would feel I don't want to see anyone. So imagine when this deaf mom goes through the same, and there's nobody who understands what they're going through. So that's how I started working this journey. And I have seen that the hospitals are not aware. I was asking, I work very closely with Pumwani Hospital. And every time I go there, either with a deaf mom, or I go there because I want to check whether there's a deaf mom who may have come for clinics. And I realized that the nurses, there's one specifically who does random talks, very helpful talks, very insightful, but how do the deaf people get this information? So there's a time she'll just stand up and just start talking to moms, telling them, if you're there and somebody leaves a baby with you, telling you has gone to the washroom, be aware that you may go home with 2 kids, or you may go home without any child. You see, that's very important information, but will the deaf people get? At times she'll just stand up and tell them, I know mothers here are feeding like it's the end of the world. No, you don't need all that food that you're eating. You just need food for yourself and drink for your baby, because your baby right now doesn't need food, they need milk. She has very important talks, but these talks, do we reach them? Do we reach the deaf people? As I was working with this deaf mom that I live with in the house, I realized I was looking at something that us hearing moms ignore, the notification card. The baby had one name, because when she was asked, you can imagine she's in labor pains, she's in pain, and then they ask her the name of the baby. And remember, she's also not accepting she has given birth. So she gave one name, she wrote one name down. And the nurses decided to add 3 more names, to add a name that she has no clue, Anjoki. So when I asked her, when we were going through, I wanted to fill for her, to pay for her NHIF, the way you register. So I went with the notification and I asked her, oh, why did you name your child Njoki? And she was like, oh, no, Njoki is not my child. Njoki is the nurse who helped me to give birth. Remember, she gave birth when there was a strike in the whole Nairobi County. There was a strike for the nurses. So she thinks the nurse was very kind to her, because this nurse helped even if they were on strike. So she thinks it's the name of the nurse. So I asked her, why would the nurse put her name on this card? She was like, I have no idea. And then I realized there's so much that we assume that the deaf mothers know, but they don't know. And they don't know because they're ignorant. They don't know because they're stupid. They don't know because they are not educated, but they don't know because they are not hearing. There's a lot of information passing them. So in this world where we think we are all equal, we are not equal in terms of getting information, in terms of how we receive, of course, information. When I gave birth to my first baby, I didn't know most of the baby clothes by name. But when I went to toy market, you would hear a mother telling you, you need many rompers. This is a romper, so you get that the name of that cloth is a romper. These are socks, these are vest. You get at that point. I remember there was a time I was at work and the baby had a fever, and she texted me, the baby is very, very hot. So I messed her and told her, remove her clothes, you remain with a vest. And then she asked me, what is a vest? I'm like, I thought it's common sense, you see? But it's because we think as a hearing people, we think that's how the deaf people see information. Or sometimes we see like they are stupid, but that's not the case. The case is that the information that we get, not from the books, not from our teachers, but from our environment, they don't get that unless there's an interpreter. Right now, if somebody is watching 1 o'clock news, not very many media houses has interpreters. And so you find, again, not everybody, like now in this hustling Nairobi, I don't know how many people are in the house where they can watch TV. So you can imagine if right now the president decided to close the country, we'll hear from the people around us. Maybe the bodega is passing, the matatus, maybe your neighbor has heard and you'll hear them as they communicate to the other neighbor. But for you have all access to information. That's what I mean as a hearing mom. But remember, this deaf mother or this deaf person, they only get this information because there is an interpreter who's intentional, has done a video and sent the deaf people, or there's a deaf person who is close to a person who can tell them this is what is happening. So most of the times we see the deaf people like they are not clever, but they are very clever. They are wise. They do their things in very good way. But the only challenge is that they don't get the information as they should. And for that reason, that's how I decided to walk this journey with them, with the mothers. Through this has been a learning experience for me. I've been learning so much because even the things I would take for granted, right now I don't. When I go to the hospital, with them, I will ask very deep, detailed questions so that I ask these questions. I am also not only helping this mother, I'm also helping many others whom I will meet and tell them this is how things should be done. To be sincere, I didn't know, there's so much I didn't know about family planning as well. And through this journey, I have realized that deaf people also, there's so much they don't know. So through this, I have learned that it's a journey. This world is not equal, and it's not equal because of so much. It's not equal because of the mental health, not equal because of the way we get information, because right now everybody is talking about mental health. Every media house, every corner, there's groups where people every day they're talking about mental health. But tell me, how many have focused on the deaf people? Because we have deaf people who are committing suicide, we have deaf mothers who are neglecting their children, we have them who have been thrown out by their families. I have two cases right now of teenage mothers, and they're both deaf. The parents have thrown them out. Number one, because they don't understand how did this girl become pregnant? Who talked to this girl about reproductive health? How did they get, there's so much that they don't know. But instead of us, again, getting into their world and opening their smaller world to widen the world, we close it more by not intentionally working with them. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Somebody asked me how my experience was when I went through postpartum depression. I say it's not an experience I would wish for any mother to go through. It's not an experience I would want any deaf mom to go through. And especially that I have worked closely, I would say like very close with a deaf mom in my house who has gone through it. And sometimes it's very traumatizing. This girl, before we took her in, she was staying alone. So I would leave my office, go to her house every day, clean, wash clothes, do everything, cook for her, then leave her house and go back to my place. And in one of those times that I went, one day I noted that her baby wouldn't sleep. And she kept telling me the baby doesn't sleep, just keeps scared. And so I asked her what has happened, and she was like, she doesn't know. So she was not sleeping. The mother was not sleeping because she kept holding the baby for the longest time, because she was fearing if she sleeps, the baby will cry. So I noted that the neighbors, because the baby would cry for so long, the baby would, of course, the mother won't hear. If she's not looking at the baby, she will not hear the baby crying. If maybe she has gone to do something, or she has gone even to the washroom, if the baby cries and she doesn't check on the baby, she won't know the baby is crying. So what the neighbors were doing, they thought this girl, if they throw stones on her house, the mother would hear. If she's asleep, she would hear. But they never knew that they were scaring the baby more. It was affecting the baby more than the mother, because the mother is deaf. She can't hear anything. So I realized that the neighbors were not, they were doing this for lack of information as well, because they didn't know how to take care of a deaf person. And for that reason, I also decided to work with families that have deaf mothers, because there are times you may think you know, because you've lived with this girl for the longest time, and then you realize, there's so much you don't know again. So they would throw stones on her rooftop, and you see now it's mabati, so you can imagine what that does to the baby. And we took so long for this baby to adjust from getting scared and screaming and crying alone because of the way she had been scared. She was traumatized, I would say. And this made me see how the community also doesn't know about doesn't have, as much as we may say we've created a lot of awareness to the society about the deaf people, there's so much that we don't know. So again, I embarked on this journey. I would say that deaf mothers, they are great mothers. They are mothers like all of us. Of course, they look forward to holding their babies, but they need an extra hand to take care of their babies. Reason, 98% again of deaf mothers give birth to hearing children. So you can imagine the challenges of giving. My 2-year-old sometimes is a lot of work for me. She talks so much. There are times she'll talk to me and I'm like, Mommy, I just want to sleep. Mommy, I just want to rest for 2 minutes. So you can imagine this mom who can't hear what the child is telling them, and this child who can't hear, who can't understand what the mother is saying, or can't even understand why my mother, if I ask for milk, my mother can't give me milk. If I ask for yogurt, my mother can't give me yogurt or can't give me a fruit. So there is a lot of disconnect between the deaf children, the children, but they're called as born by deaf mothers, and also the deaf mothers as they take care of their hearing children. So for this reason, as family members, as relatives, as friends, we are more we should be more willing to work with them, so that we at least try to bridge the gap between the two. And I also work with these children who are born by deaf mothers, especially this young, the small age where you find that they don't understand. I have fostered so many deaf children born by deaf parents in my house, so that my 2 children can speak in sign language and they can speak. And this makes these children see that they can walk the same way, They can speak and sign. It's not, but because I have realized there's some kids who shy away from signing because their mother is signing. I have seen children who tell me, mama yangu ni mjinga. Mjinga to her means ni mjinga sababu hajui kuongea. But now that's again another journey where we have to keep working, reassuring them, no, your mother is like me. The only difference is that she doesn't speak with the mouth, she speaks with her hands. And that's how talking hands comes in, because the deaf people, when we think they are not clever, they are not wise, they are very wise, but they don't speak the way I am speaking. They are not, they don't speak with their voice, they will speak with their hands, and their eyes are their ears. So anything you may tell, that's why the deaf people are so observant. I will go home very tired, where I'm feeling like the next thing I want is to get a very nice bath and sleep, not even eat or anything. And before I even get to there, or even tell my girl, now the one we live with, she asked me, are you okay? Were you okay at work? You look so tired. By the look, without even me telling her how my day was. So they are very observant. They observe. So if we could make this world a bit equal, a bit friendly to the deaf mothers, a bit we make it a bit friendly to them, so that they can see they are just like any other mother. They are not very different from any mother who has gone through CS or who have given birth normally, because those are so many questions they ask. Did I go give birth through CS because I'm not a good mom, or is it because I'm not an equal mom like any other? There's so many questions that they have. Sometimes they get the wrong information. Sometimes they get myths, which they term to be true. They get so much which is not right, or they get information which is, I would say, is not good information. So I am challenging all of us, mother. If you know of a deaf mother out there, or if you know of a deaf couple out there who have hearing children, purpose to work with those children, or purpose to reach out where they can get help. Because sometimes it's not that they are so needy, sometimes they are not needy. Again, in this time of COVID-19, this lockdown has also made things worse. I would say most of the deaf people, and here, get me right, I didn't say all, most of the deaf people work as casual laborers. And for this reason, most businesses locked down, most organizations had to restructure, and most of them lost their jobs. Because you could find, if the one was working as a gardener, as a cleaner, they would say they can do 2 or 3 jobs in a company or an organization. So you find most of them lost their jobs. And out of this, we've gotten so many mothers, deaf mothers, who are struggling. Most of them are single mothers, so they're struggling to take care of their children. They're struggling to take care of their young families. And again, here, you become pregnant. And the worst part of a deaf person, I would say, is not like a physical disability like any other. Because if I sit here and I'm deaf, and Wairimu, who is hearing, sits next to me, unless we both talk and I'm speaking in signs and she's using her voice to speak, you'll not know. You can never differentiate a deaf mom and a hearing mom from a crowd. So this makes them disadvantaged, because you find that them we don't intentionally reach out to them. We don't go make an extra mile to say, in this crowd there may be a deaf person. Or we've seen even the health minister. It's not all the time, like now this updates for COVID, it's not all the time that they're having interpreters with them. And you realize there's so much that they're missing out. There's information that is not clear to them. There's so much that is not clear to them. So I realize if we lose a mother and her child during these early stages, if we give them the wrong information in this time of when she's trying to take care of her baby, what happens is that if this mother goes through a mental condition and nobody knows, she pours out to her child because both of them are not communicating well, it becomes a cycle. And for this reason, I realized that we need to bridge the gap. We need to work with these mothers. We need to tell them it's okay not to be okay. And we need to tell them you don't have to be a superhero mother to show that you are a very good mother, because there are times they feel like they're not good mothers, they're not good enough, or they're not doing their best. And you find them doing extremely more. Sometimes we find them there, even the way they bring up their children, they're trying to cover a gap. Yet we just need to reassure them they are okay. You don't have to cover any gap. You are okay the way you are. So we need to be very, very intentional. And that's my call to even the Ministry of Health, to everyone, to the nurses, to the doctors. My call is to be intentional. When you go to those conferences that they create, or even to the clinics, the maternal clinics, my wish is that we could have a way of screening to know whether this mother who comes to the hospital to bring her child, does she really know what it entails to take care of a child? Does she really know what it means to be a mother? Because again, we just give birth, but do we really know what motherhood is about? So all these are things that I've been doing, and I feel fulfilled. I would say if there's one thing I love, and when I go home in the evening, I sleep and feel fulfilled, is to make a deaf mother smile. It's always my joy. I have worked with, I didn't know there were so many other deaf mothers that are going through this, and I've worked with so many. I would say right now I've worked since we started this, I've worked 20 deaf mothers who have given birth. They may be going through the postpartum depression. There are those who we referred to the hospital because they need more clearer medical attention. They need more checkups. There are others who need just somebody to make them know they are better, they are doing well, and they don't need so much, just their reassurance. So that's what I'm doing. And I have also matters of health. Let me generalize matters of health. Right now, I have a mother who is going through cervical cancer, a deaf mom. And number one, when the doctors told her, the way they broke the information to her, she wrote to me, because whoever broke the news to her wrote on a paper, and she sent me and asked me, what does this mean? Of course, she didn't see the cervical, she saw cancer. And to her, she asked me, does that mean I'm dying now? So you can imagine the trauma itself of breaking the information the wrong way. If you can imagine, as a hearing mom, you get this information, is that part of denial? There is that part before you process this information. So you can imagine this mom being told you have cervical cancer. So there's a lot that needs to be done in the health sector, because I find like the health sector is a backbone of everything. Every information that we need to give from the health, because when we take care of our health, everything else, whether we have money or not, whether we have food or not, but our health is okay, things go well. But so for me, I'm intentional in that. I would say that most of the times when we see the nurses, or even we see people try to talk to the deaf people, if you're there and maybe you don't have an interpreter with you, there are two things. You can ask this deaf mom, do you know of an interpreter who we can do a video call? Because I've done this in the past. Even with the Pumwani Hospital, they have called me, a doctor gets a deaf person. I tell them, if I am far and maybe the interpreter would have sent is far, can we do a video call? And we do that and we communicate, and the three of us go home satisfied that the doctor has passed the information, has given the right medication. There is this deaf mom who has gotten the right medication and will go home and get well. Myself, I have made a communication gap that was there have bridged the gap. So I also go home knowing that this mother will be good and is taken care of. I've seen, which is unfortunate because I have been there, losing a pregnancy is the worst thing that one mother can go through, having lost a pregnancy. I said how I lost my pregnancy was I say it's mysterious. It's something that haunts me to date. It's something that I am working on. And so you can imagine if me, as a hearing mother who has gone through counseling, who has done counseling as a course, who has exposure to all this information, there are moments that even after I lost that pregnancy, I also give birth to a child. But there are those moments that I go low, especially the people we were with that time. We were pregnant together. When I see their children, I'm like, oh, my baby would have been this age. My baby would have been this pretty. My baby, there are those moments that you go low. So you can imagine a deaf mom goes to the hospital because I have such cases. This mom goes to the hospital because she's feeling not okay. And maybe she's spotting because the two cases that I'm working with. This mother goes to the hospital and tells the doctor she's spotting. And the doctor doesn't get the information right. So what does he do? Gives medication that makes this mother miscarry. So you can imagine, this mother has waited for so long to get a baby, but because of communication barriers, they get the wrong information and they lose their children. So it's so sad that matters of health and even the Ministry of Health, our nurses, our health facilities have not prioritized, I would say, the deaf people. My call to everyone, because I'm calling even nurse mothers, I know we can reach out to so many others, that we be intentional with the deaf mothers. We specify, we prioritize their health, whether it's the mental health, whether it's the physical health, anything that needs to go through the hospital, because one little mistake can make one lose a life. One little mistake can make one regret for the rest of their lives. And instead of us getting there, let's be intentional in doing the right thing. So I think so far that's what I would say that has made me feel this gap is wide and I may not cover it. I know I may not get even quarter way, but it starts with a step of faith. It starts with one person to say the way we think this thing is okay is not okay. When like 2-3 more people who will, now that we are getting the information, we will say, if you are not there, you will say, I now know there's a group that we leave behind. There's a group of people who we think are okay and they're not okay because they may not have that voice. And I decided to be that voice, a voice that speaks. My voice may not be that loud, yes, but in my small way, I am speaking, so that in the process of me speaking the little words, the small voice I have, it may get somebody who may magnify their voice, and now through that we may get help for our deaf people, because it's one disability that is easily forgotten. Because if a person is on a wheelchair, if a person is visually impaired, they don't need to see, they just need to hear. And as I said, information is all over. Right now, every corner, everywhere I go, whether it's on the social media, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on the radios, the TVs, all over, even on newspapers, it's all about mental health. And especially that this October 10th, that was on Sunday, was a mental health, World Mental Health Day. If the world would say, if the world was speaking about mental health day, but how many people did we see specify that can we break this information that can reach to every person, not only the people who can hear, even the deaf people. And again, sign language is a visual language. That's why Tracy is there, because me voicing the deaf, even if we put captions there are deaf people whose education level may be low, that they may not get it right, or maybe what I mean is not what they get. But when there is an interpreter who breaks the information in a language that they understand, it becomes easy. So that's why I do a lot of videos to the deaf people, and the people that I reach out to, I send them videos. Every day there's a video I'm sending. I have a group, or a WhatsApp group for these deaf moms. Every day I'm sending some information, some encouraging words, some words to make them feel I am a mother like any mother, and I am equally able to take care of my children. I just need a little affirmation. I just need a little guidance. I just need somebody to tell me the course I have taken is the right one. Because there are times they walk with that doubt. They are self-doubting themselves. And of course, they'll self-doubt because, again, if I sit here and everybody is speaking and I'm here quiet, I may start asking, who does Wairimu think about me? What is the other one thinking about me? Do they understand what I am going through? If I ask this question, will I look like I'm ignorant? For those many reasons. And if a deaf person came to you, a mother, and asks you a question, don't think, that question. If they ask you what is a vest, as my girl asked me, what is a vest? You don't see them like stupid people. You don't see them like they're ignorant. You don't see them like, everybody, including a small baby, they know what a vest is. It's not everybody who has access to that information. So just show them love, show them, encourage them, show them love, work with them, because sometimes they just need that. So in my world, I have also realized that, as I said earlier, because majority have lost jobs, what has happened to them? They've gone into prostitution. They have gotten into small, I would say small but not true relationships. Because if this mother has another child, has another family maybe that they need to take care of, and here you are a single mother, what do you do? And you've lost your job, what do? They find themselves going into relationships that are not standing. What happens? They become pregnant again. The cycle continues. So I have worked with mothers who are single mothers also, and I have been trying to reach out to friends. In fact, this initiative didn't start long ago. It started this year, 2020, December of 2020. But it's more beginning of this year, where I reach out to my friends. I tell them I have this 5 deaf mothers who need food, they need clothes, because depending on their situations, because I work with the deaf mothers depending on their need. Like if this mother needs counseling, I will work with them as a counselor. If this mother, and of course as a counselor, I will work with them even to the medical facilities where they need to go to the clinics every time. I will work with them, and I intentionally work to their homes, especially this COVID time, for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is to see how they are checking on their baby. They are taking care of their baby. I check on the baby. There are some things that are not common sense. And I know mothers would think, you may think, like when your baby gets jaundice, for example, as a mother, you know what to do. But you find this mother panics. You find, I know I have 2 cases where I have literally had to work with them. We go to the hospital and the doctor explains, where they see their baby's eyes turning yellow, but to them it's a normal color for a baby child's. Baby's eyes are not white, according to them. They have not taken care of these babies before. So I have to go and tell them, no, this is a danger sign. We need to go to the hospital, and this is how we go to the hospital. So I do that intentionally. There are other mothers that I see. The only thing I need to do is to reconcile them with their families and work with their families to a point where the families can accept them back. The families can know this mother is not pretending. is going through a mental condition and just needs to be shown love and to be appreciated, whether they have done wrong as because their families will say, you know, you're not married and now you here bring another burden, we've been taking care of you, you bring another baby. So I work with them through that as a family. There are mothers that I have to assist, like the one I live with. She's now, in fact, even my children, I don't think if she would leave our house, they see her as one of us. They have accepted her baby who calls me mom, like my own. So for me, she's a full-time in my house for now. And there are mothers that I see they need more medical attention. And sometimes with the small jobs, you find that this person doesn't have a stable way of getting to medical help. So I sometimes mobilize people. I tell them, can you be able to pay an HIF for one mother for 1 year? Because the hospitals which accept NHIF cards for them. So for 1 year, can you sacrifice your 1 year, maybe a meal for 3 weeks? Maybe you may sacrifice lunch and say, I am sacrificing this so that I can pay NHIF for a certain mother who needs this help. So I work with them differently. And this is because this COVID time is a very hard time and it's a trying time. So for that reason, we have different needs, different challenges. And somebody, I have seen a comment, which I know, Wairimu, I know you read for me the comments. I am seeing 15 comments. I'm not, on my end, I may not be able to read, but you can read for me. And I also want to say that I don't only work with the deaf moms at that level of giving birth. I also work with teenage girls who are, right now, they are getting into, you see, last year we had a lot of teenage pregnancies, and we may think our deaf teenage children are exceptional. They're also into it. I have cases of where I'm working with these teenage girls. And one case that has made my heart bleed is that a mother who is hearing can throw out her child because she's a teenage girl and has gotten pregnant. The mother wants, we abort this baby, and the girl doesn't want to abort this baby. So in the whole course, the mother will say, these deaf people, they don't listen. They are hardcore. But it's not that they're hardcore. Just the same way you are hearing child, you'd ask them, what do you want? Can we learn to not doing things for the deaf people? Can we allow them to tell us what do they want? How do we come in? How do we help them? Even these mothers that I go to help, I just don't go and tell them, now you don't have clothes, you don't know. I will ask them, I have come. What exactly do you want me to do? What do you think I can be of help to you? And they tell me, I've not paid house rent for 4 months. I have not eaten a proper meal for some time. Then from there, I will know the action to take. And maybe, Wairimo, can I take a sip of water as you read for me the comments?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Judy and Wairimu, of course, for the way you've been able to just educate us. Can I just say, Judy, number one, I just feel inspired by your story. I don't know how you do it as an individual, and you have 24 hours just like me, how you do all these things, God enablement. The Bible talks about us being God's hands and feet, and you are just a representative of that call over our life. I also feel very annoyed because of what is happening around and the stories and the examples, but mostly I feel ignorant because I have never, ever, ever thought. I just think the solution for deaf moms is signing. Like when you hear the struggle and the suffering of a fellow mom, yeah, like I feel very ignorant, but I'm also annoyed at those who know better and don't do better. But even as you know, take the sip, and I'll read for you the comments, but maybe you can tell us, so how do we help you? Because you go to places where no one has sent you, just your heart and your calling and your passion. You go to hospitals. You have a lady in your house with her child, not just an individual. You even have her child, and you're taking care of your own household and her, like, how can we help you as Judy? Do you have a number we can send to? Like, what are the practical ways? I'm happy you've talked about NHIF. You can pay for one of the ladies, because we may not sign, we may not work and understand that mother. Of course, you're teaching us to be kind. That's one of the things we can do. But financially or materially, how can we help you so that this work that you're doing, that we are not going to do, because yeah, you have a special calling. So how can we help you first before I read the comments?
Okay, if you may, number one, I need more counselors, because the mental health is a real thing. It's a reality on the ground for the deaf people. So if you are a counselor out there and you may want to offer your help to us through counseling, I would really appreciate. If you have food, I would say that you can say, I want to donate. If you have stuff that you do want to donate, I will give my number, and we can reach out, and you can reach out to me or through Wairimo, and through that we can be able to work to touch lives in a different way to many more mothers. If you may want to say that you want to support an interpreter, because I don't work alone here, I work with other interpreters. And remember, sign language interpretation is a profession like any other. It's like if I went, the time that Wairimu is using right now is time that should be elsewhere. So if you may say that I want to support interpreters to be stationed in this hospital for clinics. Like we say, we have Pumwani, we have different hospitals where you can say, I may want to support interpreters. You may not pay them, but you may give them bus fare or maybe lunch for that day. You still can reach out. You may have toys, you may have baby clothes. Of course, baby clothes is a need for me anytime. And the one thing that I've realized, of course, I had noted with my babies, but I know it's a major thing, which I would reach out to diaper companies. Diapers are I think it's the major need that we need right now, because there are so many mothers who they balance between buying a meal on the table and buying a diaper for their baby. And of course, you can tell the weight where it falls more. So for that reason, if you know you can do diapers, that would help me as well.
Okay, that's a very practical way. So would have to drop the items. So we send the money to you, but the items we can drop them at St. Andrews?
Yeah, at PCS St. Andrews. And if you come, you say, want to drop this for Judy in the deaf ministry, the disability ministry.
Okay, all right. So if I'll still share that also online so that people can be able to, the ones who catch the replay can also do this. So allow me to read some of the comments which are on Zoom and also the ones on Facebook. So we have a comment, it's another world for real, and for me I resonate. We don't, by the way, we are so ignorant. Judy, thank you for educating us in this way and just giving us practical examples. She also says, Judy, well done. God will really take you far in this noble work that you're doing. And we'll also talk to you as well, because it's really lovely, the work that you're doing. She also noted that, the deaf world is a different world, and how I pray that we, the hearing, can tell their story and also work with them. And of course, I was just commenting a bit on how sad the stories that you're saying, the doctors who know what exactly it means to be deaf, being so insensitive just because somebody cannot hear. You're also been told, Judy, how can we reach out here to the medical health workers? Because I think something needs to be done about the deaf mothers in the medical field. Maybe as I pause so that then next I'll read the ones on Facebook. Maybe a question is, now that you've worked with Pumwani and Mama Lucy and other hospitals, are you seeing them also be like us who are listening to you and go like, oh my gosh, we are so ignorant? Are you seeing them waking up to, okay, so we don't know and we know somebody who can help, and to be more sensitive? Have you noticed a change in those you
Yes,
work with?
I say, yes, I have. I have, in particular, Pumwani, they can't attend to a deaf person without either calling me or texting me or asking, we need an interpreter. can you send someone or can you come? So I have seen them take that all. I have seen them even ask me, if we get a deaf person, how do we write that? If I am writing on a paper, that it's a language that like both of us can understand. So I would say they are sensitive. They are becoming sensitive, I would say, because normally it's not that the deaf people are not there in the past, or they have not gone through the medical hospitals in the past. But the challenge is seeing them like any other mother. Just the same way I gave an example of my daughter asking me about water, the water tanker and the driver. You think you've passed the information, but you've not passed any information. So that's the same thing I would say. Reaching out to the medical, the doctors and the nurses. I've seen KMTCs really trying. They're doing a sign language. They're focusing on the sign language in their KMTC training colleges, and that alone to me is a great step, because I know any nurse that will go through through sign language, they will understand the challenges that the deaf go through. But the challenge is, I've seen even facilities that they train their nurses to go through to learn sign language, but are they intentional? Because we have so many who have learned, but then you just don't go learn and get an extra certificate so that your salary, your job level is changed to another level because you've done sign language. But be intentional in focusing to the deaf people. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's a good place and practical place for us to start. Some of the comments that were coming on Facebook is, indeed, we are not equal, so inspiring what you're doing. I didn't think information delivery can be discriminatory, because we just receive, like the example you gave, the president says, leave the country, things are not good. There's a group that will be left wondering,
Yes.
kwani hawa wengine, what's wrong? They look at us like, what's wrong with you people? But yet we've been given information that they did not get. I wanted to address the postpartum depression, because I also, for my first daughter, I went through postpartum depression. We had been trained, so I saw it coming, but you ignore, because I mean, we are strong women. What can't we do? Like you described the crying, the fatigue, the tired, you're not yourself. You know you're not yourself, but yet you cannot control this. How are you now, and how is the mothers that you deal with, especially on, we don't, in fact, when I was researching, I was thinking, is postnatal depression counted as part of mental health or towards the direction of mental health? Because I don't think even able moms know postnatal depression is a thing, or their families. So it's not just, now I'm talking about the postnatal part, postpartum, because I think a lot of families look at the mothers and they're like, who since I get children, she's not herself, instead of addressing the issue and being a support system. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the postpartum.
Thank you. Postpartum depression is a mental health issue, because of course you're mentally not able, not stable. I would say it has 3 stages, and because right now, if you lost something, or if you went through a trauma of a kind, no matter how big or small it is according to other people, to you, if it's something bothering you, that makes you not stable mentally. And I would say for any mother who gives birth, they go through anxiety, the baby blues, where they worry. If you turn, you fear maybe the baby, especially the first time mothers, maybe you'll sleep on the baby, or the baby, if the baby is in their cot, you fear, if I sleep on this other end, the baby will not, may die or may do something if I'm not there. You know, those baby blues. There is that feeling where you feel like, I am not a very good enough mother because my baby has cried and I didn't hear you. Or I've seen mothers even post on Facebook that my baby fell, and they seem like the world has crashed because their baby fell. They feel like they're not good mothers. But that is normal to every mother. Very normal to every mother, because that shows you are alert. I would say that you are alert, you have a new baby, you have a baby with you. And of course, being a new baby, there are those fears. And that one is not something to really take to a medical doctor, because you just need maybe another person to support you, or maybe just a reassurance and affirmation that it's okay to feel worried about your baby. It's okay to fear. It's okay to feel like you're not a good mother. But if you feel like you're not a good mother, what do? Maybe you may ask for somebody to help you. You take a rest, or you know, those many things that we need to do. And all along, I used to think that that's why I was not even seeking medical attention at first, because that's what I thought I was going through. But there's postpartum depression, the second stage. The first stage is that anxiety, the baby blues is the first stage, which normally happens to about 3 weeks, from birth to about 3 weeks, because after 3 weeks you get adjusting, you start adjusting to this baby and the new environment. But there's postpartum depression. Postpartum depression, you can never diagnose yourself that you have postpartum depression. You have to go to the hospital. And as I said, just like clinical depression, it manifests in different ways. Me, I may be crying throughout because I fear if I leave my baby, because I remember myself, there were nights I would hold my baby the whole night. I don't even my husband to touch the baby. And there were days that I don't want to see this baby. I just want to be myself and I in my room and lock myself, whether the baby cries or not cry. I don't have anything to do with the baby. And that one makes, mostly because of hormonal changes and all that, those many things that happen within a mother. That one, you have to go to the hospital to be diagnosed by a doctor or by a nurse who will tell you whatever you're going through is not the anxiety, is not the baby blues, it's a depression. And just like a clinical depression, they may administer some medication to you, and they may take you through counseling, through therapy as you take medication for some time. And life moves on and you continue. It's a process. I would say it's a process. To date, it's a process. My baby is 2 years, but it's a process, I would say. Now, after the postpartum depression, there's another level where is a postpartum psychosis, which is worse than the postpartum depression, because this is where you see mothers are not even allowed to go close to their children, because that's why you find a mother has killed her child, has thrown their baby out, they don't want anything, they have messed their house. It's more of like more of a deeper depression than the postpartum depression, where they may need even to be admitted in hospitals and go through medication. And this may be a lifetime. It may take longer. Of course, you may get well, but it may take longer than postpartum depression, and it may recur. It's not common. It's not like a must that postpartum depression recurs when you give another baby. It's not a must. It can, but it's not a must. But for psychosis, chances of recurring are very high. Chances of going mental kabisa are also very high when you have psychosis. That's why they have to live on medication, like the mental conditions medication, where a doctor has to keep checking on.
Okay, we've lost Judy for a little bit, but be sure to give comments so that we may be able to see you're not alone.
A doctor has to.
Yeah. Go ahead, Judy. It's okay. Welcome back. We had lost you just a little bit.
Oh,
it's okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was saying that the psychosis is deeper than the postpartum depression. And even in that journey, whether you are in the anxiety stage, whether you're in postpartum stage, whether you're in the psychosis stage, you need support. All through these stages, you need support. You need a hand to walk with you. You need an affirmation. You need somebody to tell you it's okay. And here I talk to husbands and to fathers and to men around us. That if you see your wife going through this, and maybe to you are saying, huyu mama tangu apate mtoto, we have no idea what happens, please be closer to her. You may not even need to speak a word. You may not need to say so much, but show your love, show your affection to this mother, because what they need is just that, because most of the things are internal and they're within their mind. So they just need the hand to work with them.
Yeah, it's true. I love that. The importance of a support system. You have another comment, like what Judy is doing is part of peer support for deaf mothers with challenges and also mental health challenges. So go, proud of you. I know I'm not alone in being inspired by your story, what you have gone through and how you've turned around what was painful into a powerful situation so that then you bless other people's lives. You don't look, I know you're still, going through your own healing process, but you're not sitting down and feeling a victim. You're swapping that pain and using it as a powerful testimony that God can still use. Like, you are strong. If you're still here, Judy, it means you're strong, and God is using that strength to be a blessing to both abled mothers and those who are impaired or have a disability. So ladies who are listening, fathers who are listening, friends who are listening, there's a place for you to help. If you cannot help by offering yourself through, your own abilities or skills as a counselor, Judy has done, is it trauma counseling? So, whatever counseling you have done, bring yourself, if maybe after my comments, if you don't mind, you can even share your number out loud, even though we'll print it, then so that they can reach out and say, here I am. Because could it be that you're listening now because God wants to use you and you've been wondering where he can use you, and before you is an opportunity? Take advantage now while you're convicted and while you have that intention to help. Be a support system. I love that you talk to the men because I think they just like me, I can't deal with the hormones. I remember when my husband used to come from work, he's finding a crying baby, crying wife. And before saying hi, he has to soothe both of us before we calm down. It's not abnormal. So if you're a mother out there, don't struggle alone. No one will give you a trophy because you're a super mother. Ask for help. Have a support system. People who will not judge you, people who will lift you up. That's why you're listening to stories of warrior moms who have overcome things that you think no one can overcome. So what can I say? Thank you, Judy, for this time that you have spent with us. Thank you, Tracy, my namesake Wairimo, for spending time with us and also being of help to our fellow mothers who have hearing impairment, because then we know they have joined in this conversation. They know they are not alone. All of us as mothers, we have been given the same plate to nurture future generations, and generations will lead us. And don't be quiet. Don't be quiet, whatever your struggle. And remember, there's ways to help Judy in her calling. Don't hold back. Your 50 shillings will help somebody get from one place to another, to help them buy milk, buy, pads for a mother who's just gotten a baby. There is ways you can help. So if Judy, before we now wrap up everything, maybe you can share your contacts, email and phone, so that the one who feels touched and truly convicted to help can reach out directly to you.
Okay, my number is 0725 733 843. That's my personal number. My email is TLHEP is TLHEP.org20@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So now we have no excuse. Ignorance gone. Yeah. Now use the position power that you have to help another mother, to help. If you can't go alone, your hands can be extended through Judy, and you can still reach out to a mother who you may never meet them. Judy may never even say thank you except through text, but there is a mother who will appreciate that you've given of yourself or your time or your resources. And like you heard, she also has a team of ladies and gentlemen who sign. They are also people who are important in her journey towards helping people. So make sure that you find a way to also help those ones. We have no excuse. We have no excuse. So thank you so much, Judy. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for those who joined us live here on Zoom, and also those who joined this conversation live on Facebook. So I can't wait to do this again next month. We are continuing the conversation on mental health in November as well. So join us then. So thank you so much. And God bless you. God bless you. God bless you so much.